Hello, everyone. I hope you're having a great second week of classes. Just to recap, we are actually working on Module 2. We just started Module 2 this week. I went ahead and uploaded on the course homepage. So when you log into our class, as I mentioned before, in the introductory welcome video is that I communicate a lot with you through email and utilizing the course homepage. So you'll see here you have a how to get started introduction video. So this is something that I want you to make sure that you're utilizing because I have actually put this video to kind of walk you through to look at our course calendar schedule and all the things that you need to be able to be successful with getting started. I'm also going to be uploading today our Module 2 video. This Module 2 video is going to kind of walk you through each module. So every 2 weeks, I'm going to put a video on the course homepage, which is where we're at now. And I will email you once that has been completed and I've uploaded it. And that video is really going to walk you through what we're doing. So it's not necessarily a lecture video. Some of them are long, some of them are going to be really in depth of things I want you to look out for. What's our objective for that module? What's our course objective? What I want you to get out of it, and some really things to look for, some things I think is important and relevant to the content. That way, you are able to gain a deeper understanding of what we're learning about. I also will be talking about in this video the assignments, which is important for you to be understanding to understand how you're going to be assessed and what this has to do with our course objectives. I always want to know what we're doing and why is this relevant and how is this relevant to me. So those are things that I will be captioning in the video and capturing for you, hopefully to help you gain a deeper understanding, but also to make connections because many of you are working in childcare, early childcare. So I feel like this would be useful to you in your classroom. So this video is specifically going to be about the inclusive fieldwork practices, which is something that you are going to have to complete in this course. I do mention this in the Module 2 video that I'm going to be uploading today, so please make sure you watch that. I do mention it, but this video is specifically only talking about our fieldwork assignment. So, to get to the fieldwork assignment, you are just going to go to course information and you're going to click on content. Now, underneath the table of contents, you're going to see Module 1 Getting Started. Hopefully, at this time, you've had a chance to go through that. It has some great information all about our course, so please refer to that. Underneath is Fieldwork Assignment, and this is where we are now. So for field work, normally you will go into a early childhood setting or some school setting, but because this is an online class at this time in this early childhood program, we have decided to not go into the classroom. So with that being said, I wanted to take time and explain and break down the assignment for you. So you'll see underneath the fieldwork assignment section that we have two things. We have the actual assignment instruction and rubric for grading, and then underneath you have the videos that you will be using to complete this assignment. So let's go ahead and jump into the actual assignment itself. So you'll see here there are plenty of sections. It can be overwhelming looking at it. This is what we call a key assessment. So because we are credited with this early childhood program, we have what we call key assessments, and these are things that we have in many of our courses. So we decided we're going to use this inclusive fieldwork practice assignment. So I wanted to go through step by step each section and the rubric and let you see kind of what we're looking for, even though you won't be in a classroom setting to complete this assignment. So the first section is really going to be talking about your assignment description. Now, I'm not going to read this word for word because as you can see, it's quite long, but we're going to highlight and pick out some sections and explain to you what I'm expecting for each section, the overview, which is a checklist to make sure you have everything in this fieldwork assignment, as well as going over the grading rubric. Okay, I did want to let you know that we do use the grading rubric. We do use this in our data collection for accreditation. So it's really important that we follow and stick to this and students understand this rubric as well. So the first section I want to get started, as I mentioned, is going to be that description. So the description kind of breaks down what we're doing, why are we doing this, what you can expect for this assignment. So this course is really going to explore those practices and strategies we use in early childhood, right? So we're trying to make this more inclusive and accessible for young children. So you are going to be able to view some videos. Now, I know that it's a little different than and not conventional with having videos instead of being in the classroom, but these videos are really going to reflect three different age group levels, and they're going to be in inclusive settings. So you have children of all abilities, you have children at all different levels in this inclusive settings. So even though you're not going to be in the classroom, you will not be interacting with the children. Just keep in mind that you are going to see lots of different practices throughout these videos, and it's going to see how they're serving the needs of those children. Okay, so you may not, if you went into, say, a regular setting, say you were with infants and toddlers, you may not get to see that pre-K students, right? And how they serve those students. So it lets you see a wider range of age levels and abilities and those practices and how they're meeting those in that setting. So with this practice, we're really looking at four important aspects, right? So we're looking at, of course, children with disabilities or special needs in specific early learning settings. But within these settings, we're going to be looking at engagement and individualized instructional support. So, what's offered to the student? How are they interacting with the students? How are the peers interacting? What kind of supports are put in place when we're talking about instruction? We're also going to look at observing those universal design of learning principles, right? Are those in place to support that child or those children? We're also going to be looking at the positive and supportive educator child relationships, right, and their interactions. We're also going to look at the collaboration. So, how are they building those partnerships with families and other professionals in the community? So those are the really four aspects that are key to this assignment and this practice. When we're looking at this assignment, we're also looking at reflection because that's a big component, um, is writing a reflection paper. So if you can't reflect on your understanding of watching the videos, then you won't really be able to do this assignment. And something I tell students, and I know always, is that you may have to watch these videos more than one time. And I always say start early. That way you can really take time. You can look at those four important aspects. You could look at the universal design for learning, and you will be able to really dive into each section of this assignment. Another thing to note is that because this is a practice, inclusive practice, and it is a fieldwork assignment, and we're using it as a key assessment, you must complete this assignment. This assignment is required as part of the course, and if you do not complete it, then you will not pass the course. So that's something to keep in mind as well. Now, with the early childhood education program here at Water State, we follow the NAEYC professional standards. So, and competencies. So, I went ahead and listed those standards here, right? So, again, we're looking at building assessment partnerships with families and professional colleagues. We want you to be able to understand and demonstrate positive, caring, supportive relationships and interactions. and know that that's the foundation of early childhood educators. And when you work with young children, you have to understand and use teaching skills and be responsive to the learning trajectories, right, of these young children and what their needs are. And with that, you're going to recognize how to differentiate the instruction for that child. And remember, play is important. So we're going to be incorporating play as part of this core teaching practice. Okay, so this helps support the executive function skills. And these are very critical for young children. We're also going to be looking at using a broad repertoire of development appropriate practices, right? And remember, these have to be culturally and linguistically relevant, right? They can't be you can't be biased. These have to be evidence based teaching skills and strategies. And it really needs to go back to reflecting on that universal design for learning. And then lastly, we're really going to look at, as a educator, you really need to get in the habit of developing and sustaining reflective and intentional practice. Okay, what's working, what did work for the child? Am I meeting their needs? What kind of changes do we need to implement? So think about the daily work with the children, right? When you're working with these young children and also working with other professionals. So those are the main uh, standards and competencies that we're going to be looking at that we will be able to accomplish with this assignment and throughout this course as well. So, the next section is really going to be breaking down the instructions, right, for completing this. So, the first thing I want you to know, and I'm not going to, like I said, go through everything because I want you to read this for yourself, but I did want to point out some important things, is that, as I mentioned, the video allows you to read three different age groups. So we've got toddler, then we have preschool, and then we have primary K3. Okay. So you'll note in this section here, you're going to be looking at many children, many early childhood children, because if you have the three age level spans, but they're very diverse in their needs and in the age groups and their abilities. So that's something to keep in mind that you're going to be watching. And I always tell students, when you're watching these videos, please take notes and try to section it out, because when you are answering these questions and you are writing your reflection paper, you really need to be able to note which age group are you talking about. Are you talking about the toddler, infant? Are you talking about the preschool? Or are we talking about the primary K3? So it's important to make notes of that when you're watching the video. So you're going to observe the three different age levels. So you're going to pick one video from each group. So one infant toddler video you will watch, one preschool, and one primary K3. Okay. You There are three options for the primary K3 and three for the preschool, but I want you to choose two. Infant toddler, there's only one. Okay, so it's important for you, like I said, to take notes. Now, I'm going to be sending everyone a universal design for learning checklist. This is really going to provide guidance for you. The guidance is really going to help you determine the effectiveness of inclusion in that classroom. And especially since it's going to be one of our standards in the key assessment, we need to understand, what is universal design for learning? What does that look like in an early childhood uh, setting? And these are going to really a provide guidance for you as you're making your notes and watching these videos, which will help you with your reflection paper. So, when you have this checklist in front of you and you're watching these videos, it's really important for you to determine the effectiveness, right, of inclusion. What does inclusion mean to you, right? What do you know about the inclusive practices? And going back to those four principles or aspects that we talked about earlier, right? So, here they are again. So, how you will lay this out after you watch the videos, and like I said, I would suggest watching it more than one time, and you make your notes using your universal design for a checklist. I want you to label your reflection paper. So your reflection paper is really going to have 5 sections, right? And I want you to label them just like I have them listed here. Section 1, engagement, individualized instructional supports. Section 2, observing the use of UDL principles to support learning environments. So each section of your paper will be labeled as such. And you'll see the next part of this assignment is really going to allow you to get a deeper understanding of what I'm looking for each section of your paper. So, section 1 is going to be engagement, individualized instructional supports. I define what that means. So, engagement is defined as the amount of time children involved with the environment. They're involved with adults, peers, or materials in a way that's appropriate for that child's age, ability, and surroundings. Okay, well, how do you use a teacher support engagement? Well, you have to plan for it. You provide the level of support, you make accommodations, you adapt different needs to the child so they can have access and participate and learn across multiple activities and routines throughout the day. And we look at these strategies, right? This is all including, strategies could be engaging in conversations. Did they use effective questioning that was appropriate for that child? The selection of specific materials. How did they design the activities that the child's doing? Was it spontaneous embedded instruction? Is that relevant or visual or in there that you can see? And then, the teacher should know the child's strengths, what their preferences and interests are, and that helps with engagement as well. So, in each section here, you'll see throughout the assignment, I kind of defined and gave you some examples of what we're looking for, what you need to be looking for in the video. And after I define and give you some examples for each section of your reflection paper, I actually give you the questions to support you. So these questions help you write each section of your paper. Okay, so section 1, listed explain strategies observed that were effective in supporting the child's engagement and involvement in learning, including listed in the description above. Okay, so you're just going to answer those. But remember, this is a paper. So in each section, you will have a paragraph. Within that paragraph, you're going to answer these questions. Now, some students in the past, they asked me, do you want a paragraph for each? Do you want a paragraph for each question? Well, it depends on how much you see and write, okay? But I mean, I would say there are 4 questions in section 1. You probably can do at least 2 paragraphs for section 1, right? Maybe even 3. Some people have 3. It depends on how in depth you are and how much you get out of the videos and your notes. So I do make notes and asterisk for each section. Be sure to include examples um, of the inclusive practice. Okay, so we're talking specifically in section 1 about the engagement, individualized instructional support questions. Make sure that you give me some examples, include that. Be specific when you're referring to videos, refer to them by number, and I'll show you what the videos look like in just a minute. Describe what you saw, how it supports the inclusive practice. You can go ahead and even talk again about the how what you were seeing with the universal design for checklist. But make sure that you answer these questions I'm asking you, okay? Because this is guiding your reflection, and provide examples and refer to the video of each section, okay? Um, I did make a note when it says refer to multiple videos. So in each section, you should be referring to more than just preschool or more than primary pre-K, because remember, this is about watching different age level groups, not just one classroom setting. Also, I always make a note for you to check the rubric for guidance. Okay. The second section is going to be observing the use of UDL principles to support learning environment. This is where I told you that checklist is really going to come in handy, because this section is solely talking about UDL in early learning environments. So again, I break down and define what I'm looking for and some examples for you, right? So when we're talking about observing the use of UDL principles, you have to look at classroom rules and behavioral expectations. Are they communicated to the children? Do they understand what's expected? Do we try to encourage positive social behavior? Do we want students to be able to work problems out? Do we help prevent conflicts, right? We also look at lots of aspects of strategies of how you teach expectations, right? And this includes inside and outside environment. What does the daily schedule look like? Learning environment. You communicate those social interactions, the support for play. Does it feel like there's a community, a sense of belonging? Do they have equal roles and responsibilities? Are they part of the group? And when we talk about UDL, we're also talking about, the physical environment, the social, the environment, and the temporal environment. Okay, so you're going to be observing those different environments: physical, social, and temporal. Um, One thing to note too is that you are not going to submit the UDL checklist. You're just using it to help you and guide you with your notes when you are observing the videos. I don't want you to submit it. I just want you to use it to help you in this section. Okay. Um, so with section 2, something I wanted to note is that because we have three environmental components with every child's ability, we have physical, social, and temporal. Section 2, you're going to be answering questions about the physical environment, the social environment, and the temporal environment. Okay. So, with that, that's going to be a big, heavy part of your reflection paper. So, just keep that in mind. And then, once again, make sure that you answer all the questions for physical environment, all the questions for social, and all the questions for temporal. And when you are answering it, be specific and refer to multiple videos, not just one infant toddler. So you should be doing it, looking at videos from at least two of the age ranges: toddler, preschool, and primary. So the third section is going to be positive and supportive practitioner child relationship interaction. So make sure that you understand that this is talking about you are caring, right? You're being supportive and positive. We look at building children's confidence. How do you approach learning? Are you responsive? What does your interactions look like? Are you building that foundation for the children's development? Right? Not we're not only looking at academic sense, but we're also looking at making them confident learners. So section 3 has two questions, so this is pretty short, but make sure that you again answer both questions and that you refer to multiple videos and that you put the number of the video, which video you're referring to. Section 4 is going to be build assessment partnerships with families and professional questions. So when we're talking about this section, we're really looking at how do you build the partnerships with the families and other professionals who also work with the child. Okay, so this is a team approach. These are things you're going to be looking for in this section in the videos. I do have the questions here that I want you to answer. And then again, you're going to refer to multiple videos and what video number you're talking about. How was it supportive in this inclusive practice? The last section is going to be the personal reflection and perspective. Okay. So, this is where you're going to think about reflection after everything that you've watched and all the questions you answer. So, this is looking specifically at you yourself as an educator. So you will not be referring to any videos. You will be answering these questions for yourself. Now, I went ahead and gave you kind of a overview, if you will, kind of a checklist to make sure that you are having all the components necessary and including them in your reflection paper. So, read the instruction, which is all of the assignment before you get started. Go and review the grading rubric. Download the UDL checklist, which I'm going to give you. And then you're going to watch the videos, taking notes. Okay, when you're in that section of UDL, make sure you have that checklist ready for yourself. Write the paper. Okay, make sure you label the different sections and format it, and make sure that you submit it and save it in Word. Okay. Now, I want to take time to go over the rubric because you need to see how I'm going to be assessing you. Okay, so you'll see in the rubric, I've broken each section criteria down into sections that we've labeled. Section 1, engagement individuals instructional support. So if you'll notice, each criteria is connected to one of our key competencies and standards. Okay, so for section 1, this is related to 4B. So this is our key standard and competency. You'll see there are 3 levels that you can meet. So one thing I did want to note, and I put this throughout the instructions and each section, when you go back and read, you'll see it, is that in order to exceed expectations, the right column, you have to meet expectations, which is this middle column, and do this as well. Okay. So the only way you're going to get a perfect score is if you, in this section, if you do this and this. So both of these have to be met. So when I'm looking at engagement and individualized instructional supports, I'm really looking at, did you respond to the questions clearly? Did you describe the strategies of the child's interaction? What was the support there? You're giving multiple examples. Um, so you're making sure it's almost like a checklist, if you will. If you're making sure that you are looking for these things, you're taking notes. That's why I always tell students to make sure you read the rubric as well before you start the project so you know what's expected of you. And then for good practice and good measure, always look at the rubric again when you're finished with your reflection paper to make sure that you're hitting all these important components. Okay, and then you'll see that you have the score here as well. Section 2 is the same way. This is connected to our standard and competency 4C. Okay, and I'm not going to go through all of these because this is just for you to look at, but I'm showing you that each criteria is connected to our standard and competency. You have to meet the expectations here. And to get a perfect score, you must do both. Okay. So it's important for you to read this, understand it. If you have any questions, please reach out. And then you will see that you have section 3, 4, and then section 5 is also related to the standard key competency that you see here. Okay. So once you read through that and you read the rubric, you must go back to the coursework in the content section to see the fieldwork videos. So these are the videos that I was referring to. You are going to be looking at these videos. As I mentioned, it's important for you to watch them multiple times. That way that you will be able to make notes and take notes thoroughly because sometimes you may watch it the first time and you may not catch something. So it's good practice to watch it more than once. So as I was saying, you have 3 different age levels. You have the toddler, you have the primary, and then you have the pre-primary, if you will, grade level. So what you're going to do is that you will watch all of these videos, but you're only going to be referring to 2 of them, right? So we have infant, toddler, or the toddler program, we have the preschool program, and then we have primary school. Each video is labeled with a number and a name of that child, okay, that you are going to be looking at. It also gives you a description of the video to kind of give you an idea of what you're going to be watching, which is very helpful. So before you watch the video, you may want to look at the description. And when we say in our assignment that I want you to label what you're talking about and who and what video number, that's what I'm referring to. Okay. So these are the videos for you as I mentioned that you will be using for this actual fieldwork assignment. Okay, so when we're talking about grading, obviously you have to complete this in order to pass this class. But when we're talking about grading, it's important for you to read the rubric, but it's also important for you to understand like how are we breaking this down? How does this look? Um, your syllabus, as we mentioned in the introductory video is very important because it's important for you to see how you're going to be graded in each section of the course. So if you haven't had a chance to download and save that, please go ahead and save that to your device or print it out because it's useful for you when you are completing assignments to go look at not only the grading rubric um, and the assignment, but to see how each section and component of the course is broken down. Sorry, it's taken a while to. Okay. So the field work is worth 75 points. It's worth quite a bit. So just keep that in mind. Um, and then to refer back to how the point scale is done, it's in the syllabus. So I just wanted to remind you of that as well. All right, so that is it for our Fieldwork inclusive practices video. I will, like I said, I will be emailing you the checklist and I also will be putting it right here under Fieldwork so you'll be able to look at. One thing I also want you to do is if you have any questions, please email me. If we need to meet, I'm more than happy to meet. Don't wait to start on this. This is something that's going to take time. You can see there's a lot of sections to it, many questions. There's even a reflection part in the paper. So it's important for you to give yourself plenty of time to work throughout the semester. So just try to think about how you want to space this out so you can do your very best. All right, guys, until the next video, I hope that you have a great one and I will see you soon.